This video chart presentation of Oclaro Inc. It's a NASDAQ listed stock trading our ticker OCLR. See, in the last 6 months, OCLR has made a real nice move, established an upward trend, consistently making higher lows and higher highs. What mostly caught my eye about this is the way the chart has fallen right back down on this brown line. It's a 50-day moving average. Generally speaking, it's held the 50-day throughout this uptrend. One little dip right here, it did sink below it, but held as support, then promptly made the next move to the next high, before slipping back and bouncing off the 50 again in February. So with it sitting on the 50 again, want to pay attention to it, see if it's ready to make the next move up. This level also happens to tie in with a nice horizontal support, and also because if it can't hold this point, it's a pretty significant dip down to the next level of static support. So closing at 290 on Thursday with nice volume, want to watch this chart going forward to see how it performs. Now if I do have one concern, it's this MACD making lower highs as the stock price is climbing. Now it would be a little bit worse if it didn't happen to hold zero each time, and the MACD was actually channeling and making lower lows. But with that in mind, we'll really be looking for this zero mark to hold again, in conjunction with the 50-day holding. So just a couple things to keep in mind, that if this actually dips lower, breaks through zero, and the price per share happens to fall through support, the chart will certainly be taking on a little bit more bearish of a look relative to how bullish it is right now. Slow still, down around zero. Not any momentum to speak of in the play at this point. Not too big of a concern. Each time the stock's consolidated back to the 50, slow stows dropped to these levels, and the stock price did slide for 4 straight days. So it should be somewhat expected that the momentum came out of the play. Money flow index, the 14, sitting right there at 50, just tells me that today's price is right about 14-day average for it. Pretty neutral reading. The RSI 14, it's a good middle of the road gauge of momentum, also sitting there at 50. Just indicating a little bit of a struggle between the bulls and bears to maintain control of momentum. Generally speaking, 14 is held over top of 50, a sign that the bulls have basically been in charge, but again, makes sense that stock price has been climbing. Now I want to note that 50-day moving average is a key area of support, but I also want to put this line in there. That's right about $2.80, just below Thursday's closing price. You can see how that was an area of resistance, and once that resistance was broken, essentially that held as support. It's one of the most basic rules of technical analysis. When support and resistance is broken, it flips into the opposite. So when that heavy area of resistance was broken, it needed to serve as support, and essentially that's happened. So that's important going forward, that that horizontal line is held. Not only because it keeps the stock price above the 50-day, but also because that's a strong area of support, and if it breaks through it, technically speaking, it should serve as resistance again. Now if it does fall through that, the next place I'd look for support is right there around $2.40. That's about 17% lower than where it is right now, so it's just too far away for a stop loss, making this area all the more important to stay intact. Below that, there's some more down around $2, but I'm not concerned about that. I'd take another look at this chart if that fails, see what the indicators are doing. Right now, it's kind of ultimately about seeing if it takes on some upward pressure to continue a pretty healthy upward trend. If it does start taking on some buying, rolls off of this level, I'd look for the resistance to start picking up right there around $3.20. The upper end of this shadow from last Friday is actually $3.29. It's going to be some top-end resistance, but it's really going to start to pick up around $3.20. So you can see that's where it hit its head on already and found a resistance point in March. But that's a nice little upside from where it is, about a 10% upside. And importantly, if it breaks through, see the next high just to continue this trend would probably be somewhere up around $3.40. So it's a chart that's kind of at an inflection point, and it's time to pay attention to it to see if this channel is going to continue. And those are the things that I'll be looking for in the OCLR chart. But as always, merely my interpretation. I'm not a financial consultant. Strongly encourage you to do your own proper due diligence. Consult with a qualified financial advisor before making any investment decisions. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Please visit the allpennystocks.com website to view the full disclaimer disclosure, and do not base any investment decisions upon any material found on the website and/or this video chart. No person employed by All Penny Stocks is a registered investment advisor, licensed broker-dealer. Thank you for watching. Trade smart.